you're saying, is a sensory deprivation. Humans are social creatures, and the sensory deprivation causes psychological harm.
Exactly.
Right. It's been argued that using solitary confinement for protective custody is cruel and unusual because of the damage it does to you psychologically.
No, it doesn't work. It does not protect. It causes more harm.
Yeah, it's not healthy for anybody to be locked up in a room.
Exactly.
No.
Yeah.
And you're probably right that it's probably better for your physical well-being than being in a general population.
Oh,
Yeah, it's a better option than
Of
being
men.
in the community.
Right.
Right.
I mean, but you're talking about a situation that doesn't have good options.
Right.
So we need
I
to
have
fix
friends that have been into jail before, and they always are put in solitary confinement because they're transsexual.
Right.
Right.
Because they're very feminine looking.
Wow. Well, we're going to try not to go there. Anyway, we've got another call. So thank you so much for calling tonight.
We'll put her back on hold.
And we're going to put you on hold. Okay. Good evening, nlcTrans. You're on the air.
Hi, my name's Lynn McGee. I was just curious. In the state of Connecticut, if I was a male and to have an operation and become a transvestite with a penis and breast, which prison would I go to?
Wow. a transvestite with a penis and breasts.
You'd be in a men's prison.
Yeah, in most states, the prison you go to, we were saying earlier, basically you follow the path of your genitals. You'd still have a penis, you're still on paper, legally male. You'd be treated as a man.
I think we hung up.
Right. Well, yeah, I think he was listening to that.
Yeah, that's unfortunately, there is a lot of variation, out there. There are a lot of transsexuals who never have the surgery, and
right. So if you stopped halfway through, you are fully transitioned. You had the top surgery. You went to prison. You go to the path of your genitals, like you were saying,
And you'd go right into segregation because of the top half.
Right.
yeah, it's well, obviously the prison system doesn't work. Period. But I think for us especially, it's not going to work. So we're going to stay out of prison.
Yes.
By all means. But, we're going to
Hopefully. But sometimes people don't.
I know, and sometimes
People
innocent
find
people.
themselves in situations, sometimes innocent, sometimes not.
Yeah.
I mean, people go to jail, like now in Massachusetts, they have a bill for legalizing marijuana in certain quantities, right, which makes sense. I mean, there are too many people in jail for possession of a few joints.
Right.
And I'm sure there are transgenders who smoke grass. So it's
I'm sure
quite easy to get busted with grass and be a transgender and end up in jail.
Well, and there, to one up you there, there was an article in the news in the last week about an older man that was put into prison because he was in violation of his homeowners association rules. He didn't resod his lawn. The homeowners association took legal action, and the state court sentenced him to indefinite confinement until the lawn is resodded.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
So roll the dice. Be a transsexual in a homeowners association. Fail to resod your lawn.
Okay. No homeowners. That's bizarre. But
That is very.
I mean, going to jail, I mean, there's over 2 million people in the United States.
that's obscene.
We lock up more people in the United States than any country.
Yeah. That is obscene.
So it's very easy to get into jail.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what your personality is. It's very easy to go to prison.
Right. Obviously, the system needs to be reformed.
Yes.
And
In
certainly,
fact, me and Jack we just attended it. Like legalizing drugs. I have no problem with the concept of legalizing marijuana, but I always had a problem with the idea of cocaine and heroin, right? Because I had so many friends that got destroyed by it.
Oh, sure.
Right, so I always looked at it from that perspective. There's a program called LEAP, Law Enforcement Against Prohibition, and they're talking about legalizing all drugs. And this guy turned both me and Jack around. I mean, this guy was a state cop in New Jersey, 17 years on the knock squad, 14 years as an undercover cop, and said it doesn't work.
Well, there's a strong argument, I think, that has been waged before. I mean, as far as legislating morality.
Yeah.
Sure.
Right? It's the same thing that happened with prohibition of alcohol. We created organized crime.
In
And the
19
rougher we play with the prison systems, the rougher the people who are engaged in trafficking it are going to play. It just feeds itself.
Well, it's insanity. It's like we were saying before, is when you look at a prison system, right? If you look at it logically and rationally, you have a problem. You're looking at insanity. And you cannot make logical, rational sense out of insanity. When you attempt to do that, all right, you're going to fail. The concept doesn't work. Remember where it started. The Quakers in Pennsylvania started the penitentiaries. The word penance.
Right.
All right? And they thought it was a great idea to put someone in a cell with nothing but a Bible. And they would get close to God and blah, 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 blah. Well, they took their eyes out, they hung themselves, and went crazy. It didn't work. And Quakers had to get away from it. And it still doesn't work to this day. The classic example is the Zimbardo and Haney experiment in Stanford University on a simulated prison. They took 75 college students, randomly broke them into two groups. One were guards, others were prisoners. It was supposed to be a 3-week program. They had to shut it down in less than a week. The environment that they put these kids in, and the amazing thing is these kids could have just walked out the door at any time. The ones who played the guards wore sunglasses and became really sadistic human beings.
Wow.
And the ones that were the prisoners became victims. And they allowed themselves to be tortured this way, crying and stuff. I mean, they had to stop the program.
Wow.
Well, the idea with this initial experiment was they were looking at what was called the dispositional hypothesis, which was the reason conditions of prison are like they are is because of the devious nature of prisoners that are in this situation. Guards being sadistic, natured, blah, 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 blah. This is what causes the problems. And then they discovered it wasn't a dispositional hypothesis, it was a situational variable. The situation was so powerful that it altered human behavior. And this experiment clearly laid this out. To this day, that's what's still going on in the prison system. Hasn't changed.
Wow.
No, 5-minute warning.
That's, yeah, that's amazing.
You know, the concept just won't work. And the thing is, like, you know, it's nice to say, we won't go to jail. Over 2 million people are in jail,
Yeah.
and there's such nonsense laws out there. Yeah, you can go to jail for... In Massachusetts, it's estimated that 25% of the people, now this is from the Public Defender's Office, 25% of the people presently in prison in Massachusetts are innocent.
Wow.
So yes, you have a good shot at going to jail.
That's very scary. That really is very scary.
That-
And it's something that, you know, it's not something that that I think about a lot. But the truth is that I think about this more now than I used to, because I think, you know, it's scarier for me now than it was.
Well, and,
you know.
and it's you know, there's enough that we're dealing with, pushing through the emotions that we have. You know, we go through a bit of our own internalizing of all these really negative feelings and emotions before you come to accept who you are and start down this path. And there's enough garbage that you deal with just in transitioning that compounding that with any other problems.
Put you in an
really
insane
debilitating.
asylum. Basically what's being done
Right.
is you're being dropped into an insane asylum
Right,
Sure.
with problems that, you know, you're trying to resolve,
right.
that this environment is not conducive to developing what you're trying to do, what you're trying to become. How do you become yourself?
Right.
You dirty
No.
convict?
Well, and that's one of the points that I know I've heard you make too is, you know, people's lives basically get put on hold when they go to prison.
Oh, sure.
They get reworked in prison because